All right, for those of you tuning in, there's going to be a pop-up box that asks you if you want to still stay here, being that it is recorded. All right, everybody. Well, thank you all for joining our A Day in the Life event. My name is Jessica Mitch Holmes, and I am the co-founder and CEO here at Momentum. We do these events. We try to get one off the ground about every other month. And the intent of today is to talk about what a day in the life is of a software engineer or somebody working in tech. We work with Momentum's graduates on these events. So we have a really exciting and special graduate to share today, Janelle, who you're going to hear from in a minute. And the intent here is really to paint the picture of what a tech career looks like for anybody, and then how a career changer, somebody that started not necessarily on a tech path, can get into the industry. And so what the format of today is we're going to do, I'm going to ask Janelle some prompting questions so she can tell her story. And then we're going to open this up to Q&A to everybody that has joined in. We're going to utilize the chat box on the side so you can drop your questions in at any point, and I'll make sure to incorporate those in. And then, you're also able to come off mute and ask a question towards the end. We'll open it up to full Q&A. A couple of housekeeping items. Again, if you found us on meetup.com, thank you. Please continue to follow us. We'll continue to do more of these events and hope to bring you some good content and interactive groups. And then also, if you are interested in pursuing software engineering, if you're not currently in the field, Momentum has our next class, our next full immersive class that Janelle will tell you a little bit of what it looks like. Starts on July 11th, and we still are taking applications for that program. You can find our application on our website, momentumlearn.com. That's all for housekeeping today. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over. Janelle, I'm going to bookmark you and spotlight you for everybody. And I'm going to just kick it off. If you can just first introduce yourself, tell us what you're doing today and where you are in time and space.
Hi, everyone. I'm Janelle. I am working at Cactus Group, and hello, I'm reading everybody's comments as they come in. Thank you to everybody who showed up, especially those of you that I know that came to support me. I love you all. And I'm here in Raleigh, North Carolina. I recently graduated from Momentum back in February and started work at Cactus as a software engineer.
Awesome, Janelle. So we're going to talk about, let's start like the arc of your story. So before you got into this field, before you did Momentum's program, what is your career background and your prior education career background? Kind of give us your life story leading up to this pivotal change.
Absolutely. So I definitely am one of the people who didn't have a direct path to software engineering. I did a lot of retail management. I went to college for a little while, but I studied international business and linguistics and just didn't really find that was where I wanted to go. So entered the world of retail management and eventually just kind of got burnt out from that. I'm sure there are people here who have done retail or any type of customer service, and I'm sure you know that feeling. I just needed a change. So I started working at a place where I was an account manager for a CRM and really wasn't doing a lot in tech per se. It was really just, fielding questions and helping our clients out. I am, I'm a pretty personable person. I would say awkwardly charming, but I've been called personable. Thank you. And so I found that even though I didn't necessarily always want to be right in front of the clients, and I definitely wasn't really into sales, I would get kind of pigeonholed into more of a sales role. And so I went from that company, I did video production, where I was working to do some of the creative aspects of that, but also, again, kind of getting pushed into that sales role and realized I really wanted more technical expertise at that point. My most recent job, I was an account manager, and we had a tool that we provided, and it was based on WordPress. And that was probably my most immersive introduction into software development. And if anybody has ever worked with WordPress, you know what that means. But I started to get really involved in content curation, the design, and also talking to my clients, because I was still an account manager. I'm the type of person who always wants to wear all the hats. So I was talking to my clients, I was talking to my coworkers, and I started to evolve this role that I was in into three specific categories. I was doing some marketing. I was still doing account management and sales, and training a lot of people on the tool. And then I was also doing what was essentially strategic UX, user experience, which I didn't really realize. But while I was going in this direction, I started to really figure out what I liked and what I didn't like about each of those roles. And like I said, I'm not a big fan of sales. I'm good at talking to people, but I'm really not a pushy person. So I wanted to continue to help people. That's a huge goal of mine in life. I just really enjoy helping people. Sounds cliche. It's true. I don't know what else to say. And I found that listening to their feedback and using my communication skills that I'd been developing in those sales roles, I was able to start to really hone in on the things that would help the clients and my team the most, and was able to talk to our developers and, give them really basic specs. I think, Matt, you said that you were really working in HTML and CSS right now. And that's really where I started out. And that is where I fell in love with this whole world of development. I love puzzles, and it just felt like such a brain teaser every time, especially with CSS, which everyone pretty much has a love-hate relationship with. But that was really what got me into this. And as that role progressed, the company I was with, really, they didn't have the capacity to allow me to go more into development. So I found that, talking to people, I really wanted to do something where I was getting an education. And I thought either I would go into user experience and do some kind of boot camp there, or development. And I talked to several people that I know. I actually, my brother is a developer. He also went through a boot camp many years ago, a different one, obviously. And he got me in touch with somebody who had just graduated from Momentum. And after talking to her, I've never looked back. It was the best decision I think I've ever made. And it was scary, and it was, life-changing, which can be very overwhelming and it's a lot at once, but I really felt like that was the path that I needed to go on. And so now here I am.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing your story, and Janelle, like how you got into this. And I wonder, and again, we'll open this up to Q&A, but if anybody resonates with that, hey, I had a job where I could see that I could make more of an impact if I had this skill, where I could actually make those adjustments that our customers needed, or solve a problem with technology. And that's what kind of got you the itch. So you had some context coming in from a profession that then led you into like, okay, this is the thing I want to go deeper into. So let's shift gears into that process, and then we'll get into your current day-to-day job. So what is it like to learn how to code, and what was it like going through the 4-month intensive Momentum program?
That's a great question. Well, you call it intensive for a reason. It is learning a lot in one day. And I did not realize how exhausting that would be. You think that sitting at your computer and, and working and listening to someone and learning about new things is kind of a passive activity, but it was genuinely exhausting. And yes, Emily, I also took a lot of naps. That is pivotal. I highly suggest it. Some of the things that I learned during this process was that I need to take care of myself. There are a lot of ways to do that, like, drinking water and taking a lot of naps, because it is a lot. And especially as a career changer, and, my fellow Momentum graduates and current students can definitely attest to this. You're taking on not just this, this new thing that you're learning, you're also really emotionally getting overwhelmed by this huge change. There's a lot of potential in technology, and that is an incredibly positive thing to see that right on the horizon, that there's something out there where I'm going to be able to take care of myself financially. And it really just, changes a lot. Even if it's positive change, it can be very overwhelming. So one of the first things that I learned at Momentum was that I needed to rely on the people around me. I needed to talk to them. My very first day, I cried a lot. I told myself that I was not good enough, that I was, suddenly did not know what I was doing, which is true because you're learning a lot of things at once. But I found that, especially through the people in my class and through my instructors, it wasn't just me. I'm not the only one who was overwhelmed by this. Everyone else there was a career changer, and we're all going on this journey together that's really quickly, going to change our entire lives. And it's a really fast-paced environment. So I found that talking to, the fellow students and to just the Momentum community in general was really beneficial, and really just helped me feel less overwhelmed and helped me not feel crazy, because you tell yourself a lot that something is going to be easy, or that, because you have this aptitude, which I felt I had, that you were going to get it. And then when you find that it's more than you thought it was going to be, it's really easy to get down on yourself. But I really relied on my instructors. I talked to Jeanette, one of my former instructors is here, and Amy, and I cried to them too, because there's a lot of emotions involved. But that was the best part. I became part of this community that is still really supportive, is still really actively engaged. And I found that really relying on them and asking for help when I needed it, which is very hard for me, by the way, and I'm sure it's hard for a lot of other people, that was what helped me the most. So with Momentum, yes, you're learning all of these new technical skills, which I was really craving, but you're also learning a lot about how to just kind of, create this community, how to exist in this community, how to talk to people about issues you might have. And really, that was one of the biggest takeaways. I mean, I learned a lot about how to learn. I am neurodivergent, and I have had struggles with that in the past. But I found this great community and really was able to lean on them, and felt confident letting them lean on me as well. And with that, all of that support, we were able to get through this. And again, it was super intensive, but the overall experience was so positive. Like I left Momentum and just felt like a superhero. I hope that was how everyone else felt. But it really was just the most beautiful way of launching into this new and exciting avenue, and this new chapter in my life.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Janelle, and for being like really honest about so much of doing something like this as an adult, which I believe everybody here is that like feeling of going from maybe a profession where you had some competency and confidence that you know what you're doing, to making this change and learning how to learn, to your point. And to give some context for our new folks that don't have the Momentum context, the course that Janelle did is 4 months long. It's full-time, Monday through Friday. And the arc of the course is it's developed to take the training wheels off as you go along. So there's the first 2 phases are very intensive, very instructor-led, introduction to front-end engineering, then introduction to back-end engineering. followed by a choose your own adventure, where students select advanced front-end engineering, advanced back-end engineering, and then a 4-week final project. And that's the arc. And the whole intent is that the relationship Janelle had to her instructors, who she mentioned on day one, was that of a student and an instructor. But on the last day, it's, hey, we are all software engineers. They may be senior and I might be more junior, but we have a professional relationship. And then the training wheels came off and Janelle's now ready to step into a job. And so Janelle, I'm curious to know for you, what do you remember that moment where you're like, oh yeah, this is clicking, I'm getting this, and where you felt that you were no longer just a student or a learner, but that you were feeling confident about, okay, I figured this out. I know how this works. Do you remember those moments or moment?
There were a lot of those moments. There were also a lot of the opposite moments to counteract that. And there still are. I mean, with anything that you're learning, and don't, make no mistake about it, software engineering is continued learning. You're always going to be learning. They're always coming out with new and innovative things, and you're going to be part of that. What I found, though, I think that I had a lot of moments where I was talking to other students in my class and where we were teaching each other. And that's when I realized, hey, I actually know what I'm talking about. This is amazing. A really big thing in this industry that I have found and that I have heard from others about is that sense of imposter syndrome. Because you're constantly learning, there's that, it's really easy to slip into, oh gosh, I don't know what I'm doing anymore. But having other people around me who are also learning, who are really open and upfront about that, and are able to communicate their own struggles and their own successes, that was really helpful for me. I was able to celebrate those things, even if it was something really small, like, oh, that's what Flexbox does, or like, that's how this aspect of it works. It was amazing to be able to say that to the people in my class, and everyone just cheers you on. And, even if they've already gotten there or haven't quite, gotten to that realization yet, it was just really supportive. And so there were so many moments like that. And those really outweighed, there were some moments of just a lot of self-doubt. That's just part of it, but the good and the positive and the encouragement just so far outweighed that it's kind of hard to remember that looking back, although I will tell you I cried a lot.
Making big life transformations can, it can elicit all of those feelings in everybody. So thank you for sharing that, Janelle. And so let's fast forward then into, you're done with the class and you are hired by Cactus Consulting Group, which for those of you who are just tuning in, I don't know if you've already noticed, but Janelle's wrapping some awesome earrings to represent her company. But Cactus Consulting Group, and you have been there since about February of this year. So still, within your first 6 months of a year of the job. Talk to us. This is the day in the life. Talk to us about your onboarding experience. What was it like to start at this firm? And tell us a little bit about the company too.
So this is an incredible and unique company. I was sharing with Jessica before we started this call. I was thinking about this earlier. I can't believe I waited so long to get into this field. There are a lot of companies that are, especially in the tech industry, that are really focusing more on, employee wellness and just kind of that holistic approach to, if our employees are happy, then we're going to be a good company. We're going to do well. Cactus itself is just an incredible place. I was really drawn to it because of some of the ways that they give back to the community, the ways that they give back to the world. We're involved in a lot of just incredible initiatives. And I was really drawn to that as someone who really wanted to be a part of something bigger. This is a company that they're transitioning to be fully employee owned. They're in the oh my gosh, that's so hard to say now. We're in the first kinds of steps of that, but right now it's about 50% employee owned. and really I don't have a manager. There are no managers. There are different teams that people are able to kind of come and go from, which is really incredible. It's a place where I've just never experienced this kind of support and empowerment before. If I am interested in something, I can express that to the people that I work with, and then I can pursue that. I can learn new things. I can work with other people to create new things that we aren't necessarily going to get paid for, but that people are just interested in doing. And that's been really exciting. It's a Durham-based company, and they are involved in a lot of local initiatives. One of my favorite things about Cactus, though, we have a chief of curation, and her name is Kel, and she's just a goddess. I kind of fangirl over her a little bit, slash a lot. But she's incredible. And she was explaining to me during this onboarding process that instead of yes, Kenya, Kel is amazing. Instead of just talking about things like diversity, equity, and inclusion, the company is restructuring to really bake that into the everyday actions of all of the employees. And so that was one of the things that really drew me to this. As far as onboarding, it's a strange experience because we're still working from home. We have the option of never having to come back to the office, which I honestly kind of love. I'm not a big fan of commuting. I have a very small car. I get kind of scared. And so I've been working from home, and I just remember on my first day being like, what is this? I'm not answering to anybody. Like, I have all of these people talking to me and expressing interest in me, but I don't have any, I don't have this direct to do. It's more of, hey, these are some projects we're going to put you on. These are some people we're going to introduce you to. And the work is going to ebb and flow, which, again, especially going from this intensive course at Momentum, I was floored that I wasn't working like 18 hours a day, or I wasn't studying all the time. And really, I was able to start to prioritize myself in a way that I've never been able to before, and prioritize my health and well-being and my mental health, which is really important to me. And I've been making all of these incredible connections and learning so many new things. Basically, the team decides on everything. So there's less than 50 people that work at Cactus, and there is a group of people who are part owners, and about after a year, you're able to opt in to ownership. And that's really exciting to me because it means that everyone is invested in the future of the company. Yes, Kenya makes the point. It is weird going from lightning speed to being able to, take a lot of breaks during the day, to not having all of these things due at once. And that was really, it was, again, change is, even positive change can be overwhelming. And it really helped me to kind of step back and assess again, like what it is that I want out of this, and talk to the people that I work with, and really establish my own goals within the company. And again, like another incredible thing about this is that starting out, I had some health issues and found that like I was getting kind of worried that those health issues were going to impact how my coworkers saw me. And after talking to my coworkers and just expressing that fear and talking to Kel, everyone resoundingly just insisted that I take care of myself. There are amazing benefits to working in technology. And one of them is that, especially for neurodivergent people, you don't have to work that 9 to 5 all the time. I have a really hard time with that. So I'm able to take the breaks I need. I was encouraged to rest and get as much rest as I possibly could. And I've never experienced that before. And so that it's been such a life-changing I can't stop saying life-changing because that's really the best way of describing it. But it's a life-changing experience that has just been incredible so far.
Thank you for sharing about that. And so again, to give some context setting for all the different folks coming in, Cactus, the company Janelle works for, is a consultancy, is an agency. So there's a lot. What I want people to take away from this talk today is there's so many different opportunities in this industry. You can work for a company like Jeanette works for, who's on this, where you're building product, and the entire company is a software as a service oriented company building products for people to use and consulting on those products. You can work for a company that is not at all a tech, quote unquote, tech company, like an insurance company or an airline an airline or any of those kind of companies where you're building technology to either service the business internally or for the external customers. You can also work for a consultancy like what Janelle works at, and where you get to work with multiple different clients and lots of different projects. And what I think is really also cool about Cactus, and Janelle, you brought up, like, there's a lot of high impact projects, is they take a certain percent of their projects and they dedicate it for not-for-profit work. And they're worldwide known for a text messaging voting system. Okay, can you tell people a little bit about what that project is? If you know, didn't know anything on the spot.
No, it's okay. I don't work on that one directly. I believe that one of my coworkers on the call does, and it's
it's a warehouse. Business. Okay. So there are other businesses. It's a warehouse.
So I thought that was probably Kenya coming on mute.
Yes.
To share what she's working on, but I'm going to mute whoever that is.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking that. Yeah.
I cannot figure out.
Well,
there you go. Got it. Okay.
yeah, that wasn't me.
You're welcome to join in, Kenya.
Kenya, you want to talk about the voting project?
Oh yeah, I can talk. So Libya, the project is actually called Libya Project, the Libyan Project, and it is the voter registration. Like, we created at Cactus an app that tracks the voter registration cards for the citizens of Libya. And it's an ongoing project. It's a legacy project. It was, they did the app, I want to say, in 2013. So the code base is ginormous. So one of the things that, the thing that I like about Cactus, like Janelle says, is they are very in tune with the needs and their resources and how to pair people with, different projects, different people. And Kel thought that me and a contractor, Joel, would work really well together. So she's like, why don't you see if you want to poke around in the code base? Come to find out, we work really well together. A lot of the programmers are done with Libya. They're like, okay, been there, done that. So I'm all excited. So some fresh blood. And so I get to go and see just some proprietary code or libraries that they created, code base. It's just a lot of fun, but it's rewarding to be able to work on a project of that magnitude. I mean, come on, their voter registration, that's huge. And there's always support. It's a lot of fun. And there's a lot of other projects like that at Cactus. So I don't want to steal Janelle's thunder. So that's all I had to say.
Thank you for sharing, Tina. I like to highlight that project because I think it put Cactus on the global stage, because I believe it was one of the first SMS based voting registration tools that has ever been deployed. So I just a sense of the type of work that this company does, small but mighty, Durham, North Carolina based company that has that kind of work and impact. And I think it's a really great example of the types of projects that people do and work on in technology, and kind of just brings home, like, this is what you have the ability to work on. And it's really cool. So like, Janelle, tell us about, again, a day in the life. Talk to me about what Tuesday looked like for you. Talk to us about, what is the day? How do you keep yourself organized? What are the activities that make up your average workday?
Keeping myself organized. So we use Slack to communicate a lot. We'll jump into different calls as well. Every single day I have pair programming on one of the projects I'm involved in. And that started out with actually one of the founders of the company was pair programming with me and with another of, a more recent hire. A really cool thing about Cactus, and something I've really appreciated, is that they're really investing in new talent in the industry. So the other person that I was working with a lot there, initially he came on board and was getting trained entirely at Cactus, came in with very little knowledge, and they really invested in him. And he took a big leap of faith and decided to try this. And it's been great working with him, with all of these senior devs, and we sit down and work together, and I'm able to ask questions and get a lot of feedback on the code that I write, ask questions on the code that they're writing and why things are the way they are. I think that one of my coworkers that I work with pretty much every day is actually on this call. Hi, Sage, if you're still here. Sage is incredible as well, and also one of the newer hires. Oh, hi. And that's been a really great part of this as well, is getting to work with other people who are coming from different avenues into the tech industry. Sage went to college for this, and they have a different skill set that they bring because of that. And our other coworker, again, was getting trained on the job, but we all sit down together and do this pair programming together and are able to really focus in on things that, I wouldn't have otherwise known. Plus, it's great to be able to share with other newer people in the tech world. One of the great things that I found working with Sage and my coworker Ronard is that we were able to share a lot of those moments of like, that imposter syndrome. I look at Sage and at my other coworkers and I think, these people are incredible. They know so much. I feel like I have no idea what's going on. And then I talked to Sage, and Sage said, I feel the same way about you. I think you're incredible. I don't know how you think of these things. So everyone is able to really provide that kind of feedback really openly. And I think that that's such a beautiful and unique thing. Hopefully not entirely unique to Cactus. Hopefully that's encouraged everywhere, but that's definitely one of the things that I've appreciated the most. So we do pair programming. We've also been set up, some of the newer hires have been set up with a continued education kind of learning platform called Treehouse. So I get to choose what path I want to take on that. Initially set up with Python. I work a lot in Django and Django REST framework and Python. I also get to work in some front end things. So, using React and just JavaScript in general, HTML, CSS, which are some of my favorite stuff. And I'm able to kind of define the role that I want in the company. And I think that that's another really beautiful part of this, is that, I want to learn everything. I'm just interested in everything. So I want to learn all of the back end and front end. And I have all of these opportunities to do so. And I'm seen as, a junior developer, but really I have these other areas of expertise. Of course, I came from this kind of UX, kind of strategic UX role. And I'm an artist, so I have a design eye, and that is not only utilized, it's encouraged. I'm never pressured into doing any type of work that I'm not comfortable with or that doesn't interest me. And I think that that is just mind-blowing. And I found that kind of encouragement, that kind of empowerment, and a focus on what people really want to do and how they work has been such a huge asset for me personally, just in general, but also in my professional development.
Incredible. Thank you so much for sharing, Janelle. And so I want to let everybody in the audience know we're going to open it up to Q&A for the last about 20 minutes. I'm going to give you all a minute to like kind of grind your mind and think about how you want to form your questions. So we can start. You can do, there's two ways you can ask your questions. If you want to put them in the chat box, we will field them that way. I know that it tends to be easiest for most people. But you also can unmute and go ahead and just ask your question, and I'll try to facilitate and make sure we get everybody's questions answered. So while you're thinking of your questions and forming them, my last question for you, Janelle, is to talk about, you've made this career transition. This has all happened in less than a year. Can you like a little bit about how do you feel every day at work, and do you feel like kind of ingrained in this career, and where, I guess, what are your thoughts on this whole transition and where you are today?
I think I sort of mentioned this earlier, but there's a part of me that kind of wishes that I had made this change a lot earlier in my life. I recognize that, it happened when it happened, and I'm just happy to be here now. But I would say that every day I wake up and I'm not dreading what I have to do for work. I know that I have the support that I need. I know that, if there's anything I'm not sure how to do, I'm encouraged to ask questions. I'm encouraged to seek out those answers, however I can and need to. And I just, I wish I had done this so long ago. It's incredible. I'm living my best life.
Awesome. I'm so happy to hear that you're living your best life, and that you get to do really cool and impactful work. And thank you to all of your colleagues who joined to also hear you share your day in the life story. So we are now open for Q&A. Jeanette, I'm going to go ahead and throw it to you. I see your hand up first.
Hey, thank you, Janelle. Fabulous earrings and a wonderful job so far. This is going to be more of a philosophical question. So knowing what you know now, having worked at a Cactus for a couple of months, what advice would you give to day one Janelle coming into Cactus?
Oh. So much advice. I would encourage her to be more confident in what she does know. I think that I think Kenya mentioned, Kel talks about unpacking like job trauma from past jobs. And I think that that's really important to recognize that there are other things that I have done that have formed my opinion of what work is. And I would just encourage day one Janelle to continue to be open-minded and to continue to speak openly and genuinely with the people that she works with, and to have faith in herself. That's a big thing. I don't know if everyone else in the world, I am sure, has this issue sometimes, but that self-doubt really gets to you. And especially I was kind of used to imposter syndrome as an artist. I'm always thinking, oh, am I really an artist? Whatever. But I found that really having that faith in myself and looking to others to ask them for help when I need it, I haven't been disappointed at all. I've been just so happy and feel so much more fulfilled. So I would just encourage her to continue to do the best she can with what she has, which I believe she did. And I think that's about it.
I love that. Thank you. You're so kind to past Janelle. Wonderful.
I wasn't as kind to her then.
That was an excellent question, Jeanette. One day I'm going to turn that question on you. I'm very curious your answer to that too. Emily Starr, I saw your hand raised.
Hey, Janelle.
Hi.
So I'm in the thick of looking for my first job out of boot camp. And one thing that has come up is that obviously there's so many jobs out there, but what gave you the green flag for Cactus Group? Because I've just heard some things about one place or another, and it's like, should I even try? Are they actually cool? It's hard to navigate as someone who doesn't know what they don't know.
Totally fair. I love that question. Like I mentioned before, I mean, I did look into Cactus before I interviewed there and found that what they talk about and what they do really aligned with what I'm passionate about. You can always talk to current employees, reaching out to somebody and seeing what they say. And I highly suggest that as well. I really think though that whatever you end up doing, wherever you end up, you're making the best decision that you can at that moment. And if it doesn't work, like you said, there's so many other things out there, but I would definitely look for places that that really align with your values. You know, giving back and like I said, diversity, equity, inclusion were really big on my list. And so when I was looking at places to work, those were the things that I was specifically looking for. And then I talked to Kel and I fell in love with Cactus and I'm now, you know, one of her biggest fans. So
Good question. Any other questions from our folks tuning in? Oh, Joey Menditto. Hello, Joey, and then we'll go to Matt King. Go ahead, Joey.
Hi, Janelle.
hey,
Really
Joey.
great talk today. Good seeing you.
Good.
I just had a question. When you first started this job, I know we had talked before and you had mentioned like that, like when you first started, that they really kind of were like, it was like easygoing and everything. But when you started getting like, I'm not sure what the process is, but like for your work, like if you get like tickets or something like that. But like, was there ever a moment like when you were working on an assignment or a project or whatever, like you just felt really frustrated and you just kind of got like stuck and like wasn't able to like process through it? And like what kind of was your process of like I know you mentioned before like you don't like you're not really good at like asking for help and stuff like that, and so like I can kind of relate to that when it comes to I guess just kind of knowing when to ask for help. I really like to ask people like what their process is for in those moments of like being frustrated with the work and like being like really stuck and kind of like what is your process of, I guess, getting unstuck and like, you know, like, I guess to an extent, like kind of like being vulnerable in that moment and being like, okay, I need some help on this. I don't know how to get past this blocker kind of thing.
Yes. That's a wonderful question and probably one of the questions I would have asked. I think, so I have a mentor that I talk to regularly. And like I said, I pair program with people every day. So there are times where I get frustrated and I just can't. I have to walk away. And I think that's a really important part of this process, that if you are so frustrated or you feel like you can't even see what you're doing anymore, you need to walk away, go take a nap, go take a walk, go pet your dogs. I have 2 great coworkers that I can just pick up and hold whenever I need to. I think that it is still hard to ask for help and be vulnerable like that, but knowing that there are other people who are also newer, and that I have this person that's assigned to really help me if I need it. It's just great to know that you should know that even senior devs don't always know what to do. They are trying things out, they're failing at things, and then eventually things might work. But they don't do it alone either. They're talking to people, they're, you know, working these things out. And I think that just recognizing that no one's going to have all the answers is really helpful for me, because it doesn't then feel like I'm imposing on someone. If I ask them a question, it feels more like, oh, we can figure this out together. This is a cool kind of problem, and it's a puzzle that we're going to work together on. But yes, like Jeanette said, frustration is real. It blinds you sometimes. I like to watch Bob's Burgers sometimes just to just to feel better about life.
Well, I really,
Thanks for the question, Joey. Matt King, you've had your hand raised.
Yeah, well, I was going to actually ask about some of your biggest struggles, but it seems like maybe Joey's questions and the other questions have kind of touched on some of those areas. I didn't realize you had a background in video and some of the more artistic side of things. And I feel like I might be on a similar path to you, working in video undergrad, photo grad, and HTML and CSS. So maybe instead, you might be able to better answer sort of transitioning from the more artistic aesthetic side of things into the more technical, especially with working with a code base, as opposed to working with graphics or video or photo. Maybe what were the most challenging elements of making that sort of cerebral switch? And if you had any advice about the pitfalls there, or maybe ways to better prepare, sort of going from that artistic to the more technical side of things, that advice would be tremendously helpful.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I really appreciate that question. I think as a creative, you already understand imposter syndrome very well, or that idea that like nothing is ever fully done because there's always something else you want to do to it. And I think that it's not going to be as much of a switch in your brain as you think it is. You're solving problems, you're creating things that are efficiently, aesthetically beautiful, right? Like you're creating something that is going to fix a problem, or provide something for someone. And so in that way, it's very similar. Honestly, I'm a very visual person. I use a lot of tools to help me visualize things. And I really love doing front end because you can make changes and then see that happen immediately, as I'm sure you've already noticed. And so if that really is where your skill set lies, I would say continue down that path. Again, recognizing imposter syndrome will be part of it, but nobody has all the answers. Nobody knows everything. And you're going to be learning a lot, especially about yourself and about the things that you already know that are going to contribute to that journey. Because like you said, you have this creative background. And I didn't realize how beneficial that would be when I came into tech. But I mean, there's design in everything. There's design in a code base to make things work the best way. There's also, that front end design where you're making things beautiful. And so recognizing that it's not as big a switch as you think it's going to be, I think would be what I would tell you. Again, the biggest struggle would just be imposter syndrome, but we're used to that. And I would say, just kind of go with your gut. I think that if you already have this inclination towards doing front end, I would check out back end. But if that's not really your cup of tea, then go with it. Go with front end, do that design stuff. There's some great things. And especially the world of user experience is incredible. And I think that that's something that you may really appreciate, especially doing videography and photography. People experiencing the world and it being aesthetically pleasing as well as intuitive and efficient is something that I really appreciate and that I really enjoy doing. And so you may find that that's really, really fulfilling for you. But I'd say just explore it and try it out, and don't let your inner critic stop you from doing something amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Excellent question, Matt. And I do think the skill sets that you had, photography definitely has some technique to it and some technical aspects to it. So I think that to Janelle's point, you could make a transition, and that actually leads me to, we're kind of at the last 5 minutes. So I want to have everybody do some link sharing, and Matt, to lead on and to kind of feed off, what Janelle mentioned. If you have that eye in the photography background, we have another graduate that came out, gosh, probably a couple months before Janelle, who is now working, who's in charge of the e-commerce site for this website. I just put over, it came with my search function at the end of the key right there, but it's just tinyearthtoys.com. If you click on that, the guy that's building that and is now in charge of the whole e-commerce website is a graduate of Momentum, and his background, who's a baker. Yeah, did decorative baking. And so just to show you, I just want to give you another like tangible example of how your skill sets can transition. And, you can find that creative itch in a way that you're going to have, like, I think, a little bit more economic stability working in a tech environment. So with all of that said, we're kind of at the end. I want us to do some link sharing. So I will start. And thank you all for tuning in. I hope that you enjoyed hearing from Janelle on her story. And the best way for you all to keep in touch, if you're not already in the Momentum community, is to connect on LinkedIn. So drop your LinkedIn profiles. I know Janelle will drop her link in there so that you can reach out and engage and build community that way. And then for those of you that are interested in making the career change like Janelle did, I'm dropping the Momentum website link in there. Our next full-time immersive class, the program that Janelle and some of the other folks that you saw in the chat went through, starts on July 11th of this year. And it's just 4 weeks, I think, from now. And we are still taking applications for that program. We would love to talk to you. And if you have any questions, I dropped my LinkedIn profile there. Happy to talk to you, happy to answer any questions you have. Janelle, do you have any final thoughts? Anything you want to end with?
Yeah, I want to say thank you to everybody who came, to all of my friends and coworkers and teammates, and to everyone who's here who listened and asked great questions. And if you have any questions, for me, I'm happy to answer them as well. You're welcome to reach out on LinkedIn. And I would love to be able to talk to you more about any of this. I mean, it's an incredible thing to have gotten into, and I'm so happy. And again, wish I had done it sooner.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Janelle. And again, the company that she works for is Cactus Consulting Group. Be sure to check out their website as well and learn more about that firm. I think they're a really good example of one of the many, many options and many, many avenues you can take with this career. I appreciate everybody's engagement for tuning in. Please continue to look out for more events like these on Momentum's meetup page. There's a lot of LinkedIn links coming at you in the chat right now, so be sure to connect with each other. And thank you all for a wonderful afternoon, evening, morning, wherever you're coming from. And that concludes today's A Day in the Life with Janelle at Cactus Group. And we appreciate your time. So we are right on schedule. I'm going to leave this up for people to catch the links that everybody shared. I hope that you have made a new friend today, and will continue to foster those relationships. Thank you all.
Thanks, Janelle.
My pleasure.
Janelle.
All right. And I'm going to keep it open for a couple more minutes for those of you that want to continue to grab some links and connect with folks on LinkedIn. And we appreciate you tuning in. And I'm going to stop the recording.